Hello F11 members and welcome to this month's field trial. Today we're heading into the woods to try out Manfrotto's new digital director, which is a system that allows us to operate our cameras remotely using an iPad. So this in essence is Digital Director, a device that allows us to use an iPad to control the camera. Now I've set up a composition here shooting this wonderful old beech tree and I want to use quite a high camera angle from a tripod that's really quite high, much higher than I could look through or even judge the composition that well using the live view display. So Digital Director allows me to compose my picture and operate my camera from this iPad display. Very, very convenient. So I've got all my camera controls here. Top is exposure compensation. I want to dial in a bit of positive exposure compensation, and I do that by a few taps of the control there to +1 exposure compensation. I've got my aperture here, but I'm going to leave it set to f11. I'm going to set my focus point, and I do that with a double tap there, and that's focus. I've got my controls here. My autofocus is set. I'm in aperture priority mode, my white balance, my image quality, my drive mode, and the battery life of my camera. So there, I'm pretty much ready to do a shot here, and I just press that and the shot is made. I get the display also here along the bottom telling me the histogram display, and that's telling me that actually I can actually dial in a little bit less exposure compensation to move my blacks to the left there a touch. And I think that's about right, and I'm going to do another shot now. But this is a really high contrast scene, shooting it in the middle of the day here with this sunlight filtering through the scene. So I'm going to do a bit of exposure merging here, and I can control that again using Digital Director, using my focus bracketing here. If I just click on that and dial in as much over and under exposure as I want. There I've got +1 and -1 stop bracketing, and now if I go 1, 2, 3. So these are the controls for Timelapse, which is actually something that I've been experimenting with quite a bit recently, and this appeals greatly. You've got a very concise summary of all you need to do when shooting time-lapse. The shoot time, the interval between individual frames, which I can set accordingly, and the total video length. And you can even set a delay here. And there's a frames per second control at the bottom as well. So all very useful. So that's Digital Director. I can see its uses for quite a few situations, particularly when working with a high or very low camera position. I also think for video work it would be really useful, and I'm quite attracted by the controls for time-lapse photography that it features. On a wet, windy landscape shoot, I'm not sure I'd really want to have this be very vulnerable to winds and rain, of course. Nevertheless, if I were a busy commercial photographer, I would think that this would be a very valuable asset.